Good afternoon, Vanderbilt Commodores and families, and welcome to this informational session about Immersion Vanderbilt. My name is Dr. Amy Johnson. I am the Assistant Provost for Immersion and Experiential Learning, and I'm here with my colleague, Carolyn Floyd. Carolyn, will you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Carolyn Floyd. I'm the Director of the Office of Immersion Resources.
So we have a lot of questions that we want to answer about Immersion Vanderbilt, and I'll start with one of the most basic ones that we get a lot of, and that is, what is Immersion Vanderbilt, Carolyn?
So Immersion started in 2022, basically, with students coming through, learning about how they'll tie their experiences that they do at Vanderbilt to some learning outcomes. So Immersion is an experiential learning-based degree requirement that is based in any school and college. It will go in any direction students want to take it, whether it's tied to their major or not tied to their major. It's sort of a passion project that asks students to tie what they're learning in the classroom to what they're doing outside of the classroom in some sort of applied fashion, and then tying it all together at the end with a final culminating project.
That sounds really cool. And so you said it's an experiential learning degree requirement. What are some of the things that students can do?
Yeah, so students can do all kinds of things. They can do what they've always been doing as students to satisfy the immersive experience requirement. So students can do an internship, they can do paid work, community service would satisfy. They can do research, whether it's sort of like bench research or field study. They can do any kind of outside of classroom experience as long as it meets some basic structures that immersion are built around. So there's the requirement for time. Students have to do the equivalent of 9 credit hours worth of effort towards their immersion. And they have to be outside of the classroom for about 300 to 500 hours over time. And this can take a lot of different turns and look a lot of different ways.
So like if I wanted to study, do a community engagement with the Boys and Girls Club and work in the community for a certain number of hours and then come back and design a project, that could satisfy my immersion Vanderbilt, as an example.
Yeah, that's actually a really great example, because a lot of things that students are doing here already will help students who have ideas like that. So you don't always have to come up with something on your own that you're building from a seedling. There are things like student organizations that are doing really immersive work, maybe like creating curriculum and going into Metro Nashville schools and teaching those curriculum. So that kind of thing, or student tutoring, that's a huge program that's just been started at Vanderbilt that can really connect students interested in teaching others in that fashion. We're seeing all sorts of different projects that students are creating on their own, but then they can also tie it to their majors. Do you want some examples of some student created?
Yeah, do you have some?
Yeah, so some really cool ones. If we think about, say, like something that a student is doing with a faculty member in a research lab, they're studying forensics. They're looking at centuries-old bones to determine modern forensic analysis based on what they're learning. Another student did an internship and connected first responders to some training opportunities on how to treat patients with Alzheimer's when they're responding to an emergency situation. Another student created a local chapter of a national organization that provides a children's dream bedroom to kids with cancer. Yeah, another student did a really great project where they explore how trauma and mental health are portrayed in spoken poetry. So, this can take an idea of like research, creative expression, any kind of real experience, and tie it together, however the student envisions that final project looking.
Cool. So do the students need an advisor to move through this, or they need an advisor? How do they find one?
Yeah, so every student has to have an immersion faculty advisor that helps mentor them through the process. That's one of the whole pieces of immersion and experiential learning that's really important, is that faculty-student relationship and that agreement that they build around how much time they'll spend together, when they'll meet with each other, benchmarking the progress along the way. And then in the end, the student submits a final project, and that is assessed by the faculty member. So this is a really close relationship that they develop. So students need to think about who they're contacting. So we don't recommend cold calling every faculty member in a department or something. What we do recommend is attending events. Like we set up a whole lot of events to connect students with faculty. So they can come to any of our, say, research fair, creative expression fair, explorations in research, and we've got faculty in the room who intentionally want to meet with the students. Another great way of doing it is taking classes. If there's a course that is just interesting to a student, then they should take that class, talk to that faculty member, and really try to understand what their discipline is about and what they really are passionate about, because their passions could align, and that is where a great immersion project can start.
Is there funding for these kinds of events or these opportunities?
So there's potentially funding for all kinds of experiences. Not everything has to cost any money at all. So students can direct that. They can do something that's built into their major that won't cost them anything, or something that they self-design using all of the great resources that are already here at Vanderbilt that doesn't cost anything. But if by chance they do choose something that's going to cost a little extra, or if, say, they want to go on a trip, there are some funding opportunities. If they want to visit our website at immersion.vanderbilt.edu, there is a tab for funding experiential learning, and we've collected all of the resources that we know of so far that are available for students who want to pursue immersion experiences. So there are some that are set up on cycles, like the Vanderbilt Undergraduate Summer Research Program. You apply in the fall, you get awarded in the spring for a summer research project. Others are kind of on a rolling basis. The College of Arts and Science has micro grants available now for students who are funding their immersion experiences. So it can take a lot of different faces, and we're hoping that over time we're able to identify some more areas for funding. We're actively seeking those out all the time.
So you mentioned the website is a great way to reach you guys. What are some other ways that students and families might be able to connect with the Office of Immersion Resources?
Yeah, so families, of course, are always welcome to contact the office, to contact us. All of our contact information in the Office of Immersion Resources is right there on the website. So they can email me directly, they can call the office, they can email immersion@vanderbilt.edu and send us an email. They can also do things like come to events. We are hosting the Undergraduate Research Fair today, which coincides with Family Weekend, and folks will be watching this after this event, but if you're here next year for it, come by and see what students are doing and talk to any of us. Other great ways, though, is to come to any of our events. Students could come to any of them and meet with us, talk to us about immersion, but we're not the only place that they can find out about immersion. We've got all kinds of campus partners that are invested in helping them also learn about what this requirement is and what those offices do. And sometimes they're better at advising the students than we are, because they know what they're providing. So for instance, I know that a student can do a study abroad, and that could satisfy an immersion experience, but I don't know necessarily all the study abroad opportunities that are available. But the Global Education Office does, and they know how to tie that to immersion. The Career Center is equipped the same way. We just have partners all over campus who can talk to students about what they're interested in doing.
Great, that's great.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the biggest questions I get, Amy, is families, students, they all want to know why. Why do we have Immersion Vanderbilt? What is in it for them?
Wow, I mean, there's so much that's in it, right? Like when you have the opportunity to have a deeply mentored relationship with a faculty or staff member, that does a lot for your intellectual growth and also your personal growth. And so students who are engaging in experiential learning and capstone projects, kind of the immersion project, they talk about feeling more empowered, right? They talk about how they feel like they have been able to apply and integrate knowledge, their real tangible gains in terms of employment and self-worth and all these things. So, I mean, it's really one of the best high impact practices that we have, just having that opportunity to learn more about yourself and what you're interested in and who you want to be. So, yeah.
I think that's a really good answer. I also like that they can title their project, put it on their transcript, use that in perpetuity, like kind of for whatever they want to do, grad school, post-undergrad employment. It really is very malleable, right? Yeah.
I do enjoy it. Thank you, Carolyn, for
thank
spending
you.
this time with us and sharing the information about Immersion Vanderbilt with our families. Appreciate that.
Thank you.